Hi everyone, it's me, Krista. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. If not, welcome for the very first time to my little art corner here on YouTube. Today we're going to be playing around with all of those colored pencils that came in the March Premium Sketchbox. For the subject of this drawing, I decided on doing a couple of cacti and a dry little tree or bush on a cliff, a little bit of a southwestern motif going on. The colors seem to work really well for this idea. And I don't really draw landscapes that often or cliffsides, so I figured it was good for some practice. I am using the 4x4 Strathmore Bristle Vellum Artist Tile that came in this month's box for this as well, so it is quite a small little drawing. I started by putting in a couple of lines so I could kind of gauge where I was going with everything, and I used the chameleon pencils in soft shell and light coral for the initial sketch. Then I went in with the lightest blue, which is powder blue. I started with going with the lighter colors first and gradually built up on it. I did notice the further I got into this drawing that the more issues I was having with certain colored pencils. These ones, specifically the chameleon ones, do not lay down as well as Prismacolor ones I've used, Faber-Castell Polychromos, nor Luminance pencils. And the Luminance pencils I'm referring to are the Caran d'Ache ones. The chameleon colored pencils, the layers got waxy very quickly, even with using a light hand. What that does is it makes it more difficult to keep layering on top of, which is how you get colored pencil drawings to look a little bit better. The more layers with most drawings and paintings, the better off you are. With the way I am used to using colored pencils, the chameleon pencils did not work very well for me. Let me know in that comment section down below if you've used these chameleon colored pencils and how you felt about them. There's always a possibility, because with a lot of different kinds of art supplies, different techniques require different textures, and different people have different preferences for paints, colored pencils, etc., and so forth. The Caran d'Ache full blender / burnisher I didn't really use in this project at all. As I said in the unboxing videos, I prefer not to use these. I prefer just to layer the colored pencils over each other and blend them either with other colored pencils or by using some odorless mineral spirits. Once again, that is just a personal preference when it comes to colored pencil drawings. At this point, I have also started using the greens that came in the chameleon colored pencil set, which is that pine color and teal. I'm also pulling in some white and the pale yellow that came in that chameleon set. The Tombow Eero G10 colored pencils worked quite a bit better than the chameleon ones. They're still not quite up to my preferences, but I'd say they're pretty good mid-grade so far. Everything blended pretty well. I used the russet brown specifically for that little bush or tree that's going on there. It laid over the background sky I had really well, which probably means it's a bit more pigmented. I am still surprised that SketchBox gave us 2 boxes in a row where all the supplies were basically the same thing. The previous month's box, which was February's, had only liners, in a bunch of different colors granted, but it was just a bunch of liners. And this month's box is a bunch of colored pencils. I don't mind it when they do it with things like oil pastels, where it's stuff that a lot of people don't have as much experience with. But I would say that colored pencil is a fairly introductory art material. A lot of artists have their own preferences for it, and they have their own favorite brands and types and loyalties typically. It's one of those art supplies that every artist has their own favorite kind and their own favorite way of using it. And when you mix different types, like in this box, it can have an impact on how the drawing turns out. Different types don't necessarily play well together when it comes to colored pencils, and that's partially because some are wax-based, some are oil-based, and the levels of wax or oil in each one is completely different. And when they're put on the same piece of paper, it can really mess stuff up. Side note, this is something I just thought of. Another reason I'm not a huge fan of the chameleon ones is because they're double-ended pencils. I'm not a huge fan of it when it comes to pencils. I don't mind with markers that are the same color because it's just ink with different tips, basically, but the same ink is going through. With colored pencils, depending on how much more of one color you use, you can sharpen through to the other side, and it gets annoying. To me, personally, it gets annoying. Now for the stuff I actually liked that came in this month's box. I loved the Cretacolor Mega Color pencils. They're super pigmented, super soft, lay down very well, and I like the two colors here. These I'm definitely going to use and try to pull in with other colored pencil drawings because the texture is similar to what I'm used to. I have a feeling they'll play well with Prismacolors. The size and thickness are also going to be great for doing larger pieces and just laying down a bunch of color at once. Because I love using colored pencil, but to cover a large space, it can take some time. These I think will make it a little more quick. They are definitely more pigmented than the other colored pencils that came in this month's box. You can't really see it right now, but I do later use the Cretacolor Mega Color in English Red to outline the entire drawing just to help everything stand out a bit more, and it worked pretty darn well. The Cretacolor Mega Duo Sharpener sharpened up the pencils really nice. I was able to get some very pointy tips going on. It's a very nice pencil sharpener. So good job, Cretacolor, in this month's box. You're awesome. In the drawing itself, I'm just going through all the different colors and layering. I'm using some of the blues and greens over the orange, reds, and yellows, just to add a little bit of interest and contrast. At this point here, I do start using sloppier line work instead of trying to get smooth shading, because smooth shading just was not really going to easily happen with these. And I ended up liking the effect it gave. It added some nice texture. I do want to play around with the chameleon colored pencils more. I'm probably just going to play around with this entire box again for another project. I want to get a better handle of the materials. And I think with this project, I didn't get a good handle on it. I was expecting them to be like colored pencils I'm used to using and work in a way that I wanted them to, and they are just not working in the way that I want them to. Instead of trying to make them fit into a way that I am used to using them, I need to adjust and figure out the best way to use these colored pencils. So I will be playing around with these more for at least one more project. Maybe more than that. We'll find out together. I also noticed when I was drawing this that I wanted something darker. I wanted either a really deep purple, a deeper blue, or a black. The contrast that I was able to get isn't exactly the best that it could be. I will say that the color selection is nice. I think all the colors go together well. It definitely works for nature themes. Regardless of how I feel about some of the supplies and how I feel I need to work at it more, I do like the colors a lot. They're pretty. So far we've talked about the colored pencils, we've talked a little bit about the process, we've talked about the pencil sharpener, but there are two more items that came in this box that I haven't really discussed yet in this project. The paper was nice, it was smooth. It's not quite as thick as I want it to be, but that happens. I like a thicker paper, because I'm rough on them. That, again, just comes down to personal preference. I will say, in my experience, most Strathmore papers I've tried have been pretty awesome. Haven't had a bad one yet. At least 300 or 400 series-wise. Been pretty darn good. And bristle board or bristle vellum paper is a nice surface for colored pencils and for graphite drawings. It's just so darn smooth. It works really great for that. It's also awesome for marker drawings. So that's it about the paper. The other item we have not talked about yet is the eraser, which is the Tombow Mono Sand and Rubber Eraser. I actually really liked this eraser. Did it pull up the colored pencil perfectly? No. Did it pull up enough to help pull out some highlights? Yes. Especially the sanded side. That helped a lot. The rubber eraser side worked well for getting my initial sketch lines that I needed to get rid of erased. Did good on that. I noticed for the sanded side, the more layers you have, the easier it peels it up. I also didn't seem to have any smearing issues like I did with the swatches that were in the previous video. In the previous video, I did some swatches, did an eraser line through it, and the colors kind of smudged together. I did not have that problem with this project. In conclusion, I really did not like the chameleon colored pencils. The Tombow colored pencils were okay. They worked alright. I really, really liked the Cretacolor colored pencils and the sharpener. The paper's nice, and I like the eraser. I'm not a fan of how this drawing turned out. It's definitely my least favorite colored pencil drawing I've done as of the past couple years. I will definitely be playing around with these colored pencils more. I will probably be doing so on camera. Overall, I think this box was not as creative as previous boxes. I didn't enjoy the experience as much as other sketch boxes that I've played around with. Usually when I open it up, I get super excited, and there's stuff in it that I haven't gotten to use before, and sometimes the combination makes you go, oh man, wait, what kind of project can I do with this? I didn't get that sensation of excitement with this one. And instead of being excited about the items in this box and excited about the challenge, I actually became frustrated while doing this drawing. Usually when I'm coming across an obstacle when creating something, I take it and I want to push through it. With this one, I just found myself becoming more and more frustrated because it wasn't working how I wanted it to, basically. But that's why I will be doing at least one more project with these to see if I can get a hang of it. If you don't succeed at first, try again, right? It's still not my favorite sketchbox. I am disappointed that the past couple of times, which I've already mentioned this, but I will repeat it, I'm bummed that last month was just a bunch of colored liners, and I'm bummed that this month was just a bunch of colored pencils. And some of the colored pencils are not pigmented colored pencils. The chameleon colored pencils reminded me of Rose Art a little bit, or Crayola. I'd say somewhere between that. It's how they worked for me. But this video is almost done here. If you liked this video, please hit that like button. If you have any comments, questions, feelings, or concerns, whether you agree with me or not, let me know in that comment section down below. I look forward to hearing from you, especially if you like these chameleon colored pencils. Let me know what techniques you use with them, how they work for you. If you want to see more videos like this, I do SketchBox unboxings and projects. If that interests you, please feel free to subscribe. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day or night to watch this video and listen to me ramble. I greatly appreciate it. I look forward to hearing from you guys soon, and you'll definitely be hearing from me soon. Bye, everybody!